What's up, you guys? This is HJ here, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the HP Laptop 15 and seeing how it stacks up at least 4 months later after I first got this laptop, and what you can expect if you decide to buy this device. Now, for starters, I usually use it as like a substitute for my Acer whenever I'm not able to have my Acer around, and for the most part, this thing actually handles things pretty well. Now, I did do some gaming benchmarks, what I'll show you guys towards the end, but for just general productivity and for general use, this thing is more than capable enough to do it. Now, to go over the specs, I'm going to pop those out on the screen. We do have an Intel Core i5-1334U processor. This one's been upgraded to 24 gigs of RAM. I did have initially 8 gigs pre-installed, and I added 16 gigs stick to the second memory slot. This thing has a 41 watt-hour battery, and it's got Intel Iris Xe graphics. It's an HD screen, so 1366 by 768, and it does have a Full HD or 1080p webcam. Going over the port selection, on the left hand side we have a USB-A Super Speed port, HDMI 1.4B port, and a standard USB-C 3.2 Super Speed port on the left hand side. No power delivery, no display port from that USB-C port. We also have a headphone jack. On the right hand side, we just have the power connector and a USB-A port. Ideally, I would have liked to have seen an SD card slot, but I'm personally okay with not having an SD card slot, considering most of the editing and recording I do comes from my phone camera at Ultra HD, as you guys may be aware of, and I do not shoot on SD cards because I shoot it on the internal storage and then upload it directly to my computer. So for me, that's not an issue. The issue is for those who have DSLR cameras. They might find that a little bit kind of pesky to deal with. Opening it up with one hand is not possible, and that's just because this is a really budget device. But the cool thing is, with the keyboard, it does have a full 2-stage backlight system, and it also has a fingerprint scanner to log into the device relatively easily. It also has a large trackpad here. It is plastic, so if I click on it, it's kind of not really a lot of flex to it on the trackpad itself. It's pretty accurate. It's pretty good, but it's not going to be as good as something like a glass trackpad or a haptic trackpad. So this is a webcam and microphone test on the HP Laptop 15. I'm pretty far back just to give you guys a good idea as to how this is going to sound if you decide to use the integrated microphone and webcam for voice calls or video conferencing. Now, if you do decide to use this for streaming or light recording, like smaller games like Minecraft or Roblox, for example, make sure you get a dedicated microphone. This is passable experience for those types of things, but for anything heavy like content creation, you always want to have a dedicated microphone or some kind of headset or something to use for that. But for general web conferencing calls and for general productivity on Zoom meetings and whatnot, this is perfectly fine. Let me know how it sounds in the comments down below, and let me know what you guys think of the full HD webcam. Oh, and also, how's that light back over there? I think I look pretty nice in this. So now we got to talk about those benchmarks. So really quickly, for those benchmarks that I was talking about earlier, keep in mind I tested Minecraft and 5M on 1080p low to medium, and I did test Destiny 2 and City Skylines a while back at 720p, just because Destiny 2 and City Skylines, especially City Skylines 2, has a problem when it comes to 1080p, but these are the averages that you can expect, and with Minecraft being 60 plus, I just didn't put the plus sign because the Canva data thing, whatever. This is just a rough estimate. Now, talking about the benchmarks a bit more for gaming, the problem that I ran into when it comes to gaming on this device, especially with Destiny 2 and Cities Skylines 2, is that because it's not optimized and because of the what's considered the dummy VRAM situation that's going on, you know, that 128 megabytes that's automatically allocated to the GPU, but that's never used. That situation is kind of where I think the issue lies, especially for Destiny 2. So Destiny 2, while you can play, and it is playable at 30 FPS-ish on multiplayer, it's very, very terrible experience for lag and stuttering. And I also attribute some of that to be from the thermal throttling that occurs on this device, because as you will see, this chassis is pretty thin, so it's likely that that has to do with it. City Skylines 2 is not so much as a stuttering issue. City Skylines 2's problematic response to my testing is because of the way that the integrated GPU just isn't supported, and so while you can get frame rates playable in it if you lower the settings enough, whenever you try and do anything like load in the map for roads or anything else, all you get is an orange screen that is not see-through, and it's just a complete buggy mess, and I hope they fix that with driver updates at some point down the road. So what's it like using Canva for photo editing or just simple video editing? Well, as you can see here, I have my graph that I just showed you for the benchmarks for gaming, and editing on Canva, any basic photo editing, Photoshop, etc. is perfectly fine. I have no issues with that. The issue comes when you do 4K video editing, depending on your software. So if you use something like Clipchamp, for example, to edit the video, what you will encounter is that if you do anything 1080p or 4K, you can do layers pretty comfortably. However, if you're in DaVinci Resolve or a program that is way more advanced than Clipchamp in terms of features and support, you're ultimately going to have an issue where if you don't have enough RAM, or even if you do have enough RAM, the iGPU and not having a dedicated GPU, plus any thermal throttling that does occur, is going to quickly become a bottleneck to your experience on the i5-1334U. The i7 might be a little bit more better in terms of being serviceable, but just keep in mind, if you're doing some quick edits 1080p, it's perfectly fine, no issues. If you want to do 4K or do anything higher, get a MacBook Air or just get a laptop with a dedicated GPU. So how's the battery life on this? Well, that's not an area that is really going to be a welcome experience. So from the time that I was talking with this battery at almost 88 to 89% to the 30 minutes that is now passed since I had this laptop at that state, and we're currently sitting at 83%. Now this was really interesting about this power management situation with Windows 11 2.4.2, and I wouldn't directly attribute it entirely to the battery. Part of it's Windows fault and part of it is the battery. So this is a budget device, and for those who are unaware, most budget devices have relatively small batteries. So the battery deviation and dips and then steep drops and all that, that's never consistent, and that's something that needs to be improved on in the future, because when you have a small battery and you're doing anything remotely intensive, the battery drops really quickly. I could be installing a game, and this thing would drop 20% in about, 20-30 minutes. That's pretty bad. But what doesn't help is the fact that back when I had 2.3.2, the original update before 2.4.2, before they put the smart power management features in, that battery life that I was getting, it was a little bit more stable. But now that they've done this power management feature, if you have a Copilot Plus PC, or if you have a more expensive laptop or even a gaming laptop, you won't notice this. This is mainly something that seems to affect only the laptops that are the cheapest among them, and this is where I found the issue. So like my Acer Nitro, for example, when the update, they're both on the same update, 2.4.2. But my Acer, even though it has a slightly larger battery at 57 watt hours, it still has an H series processor, which consumes way more power than a U series processor. You see the connection now, or you're starting to see the connection. The problem that I noticed is that on these budget devices, even with low power and a lower battery, for some reason, whatever they did to the power management feature, it somehow discriminately affects the battery life on this device compared to some more expensive devices with like better processors and higher battery life. I don't know if that's just my unit that I've tested or if that's the thing across the board, but I feel like it's something that Microsoft really should take the time to address, especially because when most people are not made of money, they often buy these machines, and if they buy these machines for the battery life and they find out that there's something going on with that, that's not going to be a fun time. So I just wanted to point that out. But it might be my unit, but it's something that I felt was worth mentioning because I felt like it's discriminately affecting this laptop with a U series processor. This battery on the U series processor somehow lasts way less than a laptop with a slightly larger battery on an H series processor, which is with a dedicated GPU, which is beyond me. I don't know how that happens, but for some reason, that is the case. So please, Microsoft, if you're listening to this, please find a way to fix it so that it's even across the board for the most part, so that it's not taking too much of a toll. And also, standby time. Standby time on this is really bad too, so hopefully they will fix it in the near future. So what do you guys think about the HP Laptop 15, and what do I personally think? Well, first, what I personally think, I think it's a great device. It's nothing really majorly wrong with it, except for the battery life, and if you want to do anything high performance, you might have to look elsewhere. Other than that, if you're somebody who's buying this for like a kid who's in school, high school or lower grades for that purpose, or if you're buying this for a middle-aged adult or someone who just needs to do work, or for your grandparents, this is perfectly fine. They're going to have no issues with this. However, like I said, power users, college students, people who have more demanding jobs than just sitting in an office doing accounting, for that, look elsewhere. This is not going to be for you. So that's just my take on this. Let me know what your take is on this device and what you guys think about it in 2025. I almost said 2024. My brain's stuck in the past. Help me. But that aside, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.